What's going on, everyone? Scott here. Welcome back to the channel. We are back to talk about Survivor Season 47, Episode 9, coming off last week where Sierra went home in a blindside where they turned on Sam and Sierra, pitted them against vote against each other, and Sierra ended up going home in the revote. Rachel got her idol last episode as well. So we will see how the alliance members of Sam and Rachel respond to that. Obviously losing a close alliance member in Sierra, someone that they have worked with throughout this game. So we're going to talk about this episode, but first, if you could just hit that like and subscribe button down there for more Survivor content as we wind down on Season 47 of Survivor. Bunch of other stuff on the channel too, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a video. So back at camp, Sam and Rachel are reeling after being blindsided and realizing that Andy had flipped on them. Rachel says would love to still protect Sam, but as Sam tells Rachel, it sucks that we obviously can't really play the game together right now, as we were kind of talking about last week. You know, unfortunately, that's how these things kind of go. When you have a strong alliance of, 2, 3, 4, and someone turns on someone, or one of those alliance members gets blindsided. Going forward, unfortunately, you usually have to split up from that group that you were in, and that seems like what will be the case here. Rachel explains her playing her shot in the dark was to gauge to see if she needed to play her idol, which is what we talked about last week, which was a brilliant move by her. Andy is working on damage control with his former alliance members. Andy tells Sam that he used his social capital he built to take the vote off of Sam to make sure that it was Sierra, and Andy is now working on Rachel. The next morning, she says that Sierra was the primary one that was saying, like, we can get Andy out if need be, and he says that if he had a future with anyone from his old tribe and alliance, it would be Rachel. They kind of had a connection at the beginning of the game, if you remember that, but it just never was, like on the same plane, I guess, if you will. They were obviously working together, but kind of like working together on the outskirts, on opposite ends of that voting alliance circle, whatever you want to call it. But looking back, Andy blindsided Rachel with the Annika vote earlier in the game and decided to stick with Sam and Sierra. That was a key point and kind of where Sam and Sierra started to grow momentum in this game. And then now, again, looking back at last night, blindsided Rachel. So will Rachel maybe get revenge going forward? We'll have to wait and see, but Teeny explains to Sam that they wanted to split up him and Sierra because they felt like a power couple. Sam says that he has a vendetta against Lavo, thought that they were working together, but obviously clearly not. Now, as Sam says, he is ready to play. Soul likes Sam's approach to being blindsided, not crying about it or mad about it, just getting back to the game and working on next avenues to move forward. They throw Gabe's name out there as a possibility. That is Sam, Teeny, Genevieve, and Saul. Key point for later, so we'll come back to that a little later on, but Tree Mail comes, says that only one person will be safe, but divide into 5 groups of 2 before heading to the immunity challenge. Some strategy in this, obviously, usually knowing the game that when you divide into groups like this, you'll work together as a group or a pair in the beginning stages and then later compete against each other. So a little bit of strategy there, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Be paired up for the first 2 rounds of the immunity challenge, and then we'll go head to head the final 4. So essentially the final 2 groups that make it to that stage. So the groups are Sam and Andy, Kyle and Gabe, Rachel and Caroline, Sue and Genevieve, and Teeny and Saul. So a lot at stake. A spot in the final 9. The final 4 also get an afternoon picnic. And the twist is the first 2 pairs, so 4 people will lose their vote, but they will take a journey with a chance to earn their vote back. Kyle and Gabe and Teeny and Saul, as well as Genevieve and Sue, move on to the second round. So Sam and Andy and Rachel and Caroline lose their votes. They'll be going on the journey, building that staircase from back on Boston Rob's Redemption Island season, where you had to match the planks and the holes and bring it up the stairs, and you can only take one at a time, is a heck of a lot easier with 2 people. I remember that was one of the most iconic challenges, in my opinion, in Survivor history, watching Boston Rob and them do that. I believe that was the final 4 for Redemption Island, so that sealed up Rob getting to the final 3 there. But I thought this was a cool twist with 2 people doing it. Definitely a lot easier. Cool throwing this in the middle of a challenge like this. So wow, Sue and Genevieve blow the lead that they had for pretty much this whole second part, and Teeny and Saul and Kyle and Gabe move on to the final round, which is the individual portion. The classic holding on to the sides with small footholds as long as possible, moving down, go on for quite a while, and it gets down to the last foothold between Kyle and Gabe. Kyle said before this that he felt that he could beat Gabe, and that's why he was so quick and willing to pair up with Gabe. But Kyle drops and Gabe wins individual immunity. First time that Kyle has not won individual immunity this season in the individual portion. So Sam and Andy, Rachel and Caroline head off to the journey with a chance to earn their vote back. Basically 3 separate groups now, as Gabe was kind of describing as they head back to camp. The 4 people on the journey, the 4 people at the picnic reward, and then Genevieve and Sue back at camp. So you're curious kind of what votes or what plans will come out of the different pockets right now. In the reward group, Teeny and Kyle are down for putting Sam. Kyle says he doesn't see Genevieve as a thinker in this game, though. But then we see Genevieve wanting to plot to get Soul out because he wanted to get one of her closer allies in the game, Gabe, out. Sue still wants to get Kyle out because he wrote her name down about 2 months ago in the first episode or 2 of the season. Gabe even says Sue's not going to be like the one, like, let's get Soul tonight. And kind of foreshadowing because obviously she's in on this vote. So when Gabe gets back to camp, he'll realize that. But Genevieve also has a bee in her bonnet about Soul going after her old ally Rome. And in all fairness, I mean, everyone was kind of going after Rome, was just rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. At least the edit, that is what it seemed like, respectfully. But, you know, that's how she feels. So we'll see how that goes once everyone starts coming back to camp. So we go to the journey. So 3 people will earn their vote back and 1 person will officially lose their vote. Then back at camp, the reward group gets back and tells Genevieve and Sue, like, yep, we're going with Sam. Cool. On the surface, everything's cool, but obviously Genevieve's been cooking this plan to get Saul out underneath. Sue's down to get Saul if Gabe is in. Genevieve and Gabe talk, and she tells him that Soul and Teeny were throwing his name out earlier this morning. We saw that at the beginning of the episode. She wants to take out the subtle threats like Soul. Gabe agrees. They bring in Kyle, and he says if Caroline has a vote, he says go for it. They need 1 more vote from the group of people on the journey to make this plan work. The journey group is competing against each other, essentially building a house of cards. I think a little later on, Sam described it as kind of reverse Jenga, and that was a good way of describing it. To form triangles on top of triangles, and then the person who has it fall down loses their vote. And I love Caroline's enthusiasm. We saw this last week as well. Supporting Rachel was kind of in a tough spot there on the tower, and she was able to get a piece in there, and she's like, yes, nice job, that was awesome. But unfortunately, Caroline has the tower fall and she loses her vote. Kind of say like, oh, who do you think the talk will be back at camp? And they all think that everyone will probably be talking about Kyle back at camp because this is his first time not winning individual immunity and being vulnerable at tribal council. Genevieve pulls in Andy, but he was thinking about possibly keeping Soul around and wanting to use him and then get him in a couple more votes. But he sounds like he can be swayed to doing Soul if the pieces are there. So Genevieve's like, all right, cool. She brings in Rachel. Rachel says she is thankful for Soul for giving her the advantage, but she's torn about telling Sam. Obviously, someone that she said she still wants to look out for in this game and obviously trust in this game. She tells Sam, don't worry, it's not you. He's kind of pushing a little bit and is sort of guessing who he thinks it is. And she begrudgingly nods her head as he says, like, you don't have to respond, like, you know, whatever. But she begrudgingly nods her head, and we see as Sam is immediately called by Soul to go talk, she kind of like dips her head a little bit and is like, I don't know if that was the right move. And even though Rachel said, please don't vote for him and don't blow up my spot, what does he do? He goes and tells Soul. And now they try to concoct a plan to get Sue because she's so isolated in this game, and I feel like is covered by threats on, you know, a lot of sides of her, and I think she is a threat to go to the end in this game. They're trying to form a group of Sam, Soul, Teeny, Genevieve, and Andy to vote for Sue. The problem is Genevieve is the one that came up with the Soul plan. So it was Sam ready to blow up the game. We misread that from last week from the preview. I thought it was Andy. Teeny tells Genevieve kind of last second, which starts to cause all this confusion, that the plan is to get Soul, and Genevieve's like, well, now my plan's blowing up. And Teeny's like, why don't we just get Kyle? So then it changed from Sue to Kyle. Rachel's kind of regretting telling Sam. She's like, should I have told him? Probably not, but I don't blame her for telling him because they said they were going to look out for each other. Sam, I mean, I don't blame him for looking out for his game, but I don't know what that would have benefited, or what this benefits him for trying to go after Sue, like whatever. If he just kind of talked with a couple of people, try to form some connections, and then just throw a random vote somewhere, yeah, he's left out of the vote, but hey, he goes on to another week, and then he can try to form some more connections there. If people are like, hey, you voted for who we told you to vote for, and then you form another connection there. But we'll see. Everyone is running around last second. Who knows what is going to happen? An absolute mess, literally minutes before Tribal Council, and there's still some questions heading into Tribal, it appears. And we are literally a minute into Tribal Council, and side convos are happening all over the place. Turns into a live Tribal. We love a good live Tribal Council. People jumping in and out of combos everywhere, votes changing here, there, everywhere, and the result ends up being Sol. And everyone voted for Sol except for Sol, as he voted for Sue. So it seems like they all just came to the consensus to get Sol, and probably like, hey, I'm going to save myself in this game. Don't want to be on the wrong side. Let's just live to see another day. So Genevieve's intended target was a hit, as she kind of said, I can't believe that worked, kind of at the end there of Tribal Council, but was definitely not as smooth as I assumed she imagined. But next week, it looks like Andy is kind of still floating around to everyone. Sam is ready to take out whoever, and Sue is very upset with Kyle. So, very interesting episode. I really like the dynamics that they created with the 4 people losing their vote, then it's going to be 3 people get their vote back, 1 person still loses their vote, then kind of the dynamics of 3 separate groups of people being split up for a portion of the day, then having to come back and scramble. I like that. I thought that was, very entertaining. I hope they continue to do stuff like that, change it up, bring in different stuff, and that's what makes Survivor so great. 47 seasons in, still coming up with new ways and stuff to twist the game and still make it so entertaining. But anyway, that'll do it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.